Hey everybody, and good morning. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to share with you guys a little bit more of what I was talking about the prescription pill epidemic in the white community. Why it's something that we really need to look at, and this is because you won't hear Donald Trump get on TV and talk about this extreme epidemic of heroin and pill use in the middle class white suburbia, because he needs to instead distract everyone's attention by saying, oh, let me fix, look at Chicago. Now, we all know that they've been screaming, look at Chicago, for almost the last 500 years. At no point do they address what exactly is wrong with Chicago, not why generation upon generation it seems to stay the same. But they will just keep distracting you to say, look over there, look at black people, look at black people. All the while you see this extreme epidemic of heroin and prescription pills going through middle class white suburbia. The last video I think I showed you was just women being really addicted to the pills, but this is something that's hitting their high schoolers. They're hitting their stay-at-home moms, working moms, but it's really widespread through the white community right now. So I'm not going to play this whole video, but I'll play a little bit of it. It's pretty long, so if everything's working right, then you should be able to just get a kind of a view of what's going on.
I even told him, I said, son, you're going to end up either in jail permanently, or we're going to get a phone call, and I'm going to have to come to the morgue, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to come see you there. You know, you think you've done everything right. You tell your kids, it's not getting through, apparently. No matter what you do, no matter where you come from, you know, and that's a problem we have right now everywhere. It's not just me, it's not you, it's just everybody in this room has the opportunity to fail and get into that.
Just the disbelief that this is my kid's taking drugs. Middle class America. Both of my children did well in school, and up until we divorced, and he's
just notice what you're hearing. This is middle class America. These are people with all the opportunities. They're still living off the privilege that they got from slavery. They have everything they need. They have homes. They're not lacking food. They're not being abused. And yet still they have this epidemic of drug use. No excuse for it.
Started, I guess the cliche is hanging with a different crowd of people. And from that, he was introduced to these pill parties. And from that, it progressively went to heroin IV use.
Of course, she wants to distract from her child by saying he's hanging out with a different crowd of people. This is them. This is who they are. This is widespread through the middle class white suburbia. So don't get distracted by her saying a different crowd of people. The different crowd of people is her neighbors and her co-workers' kids and her friends' kids.
Pill parties, that's the big thing that they're doing. What scares me the most is we're losing a whole generation.
We have to listen to the words that they're using when they're describing these white middle class children. They're not saying these are druggies and thugs and criminals. They're just, they have the nice sad music playing so that you can feel, to invoke sympathy, to invoke you to feel sad and want to help these kids. This isn't what they do if they were showing any black kids or inner city areas. These are victims here. They're always victims. They don't need to take responsibility for the heroin use and the epidemic of prescription medication use, they don't need to take responsibility for that. They're victims. They need help.
The whole younger, you know, in the 20s, we're losing that whole generation to the heroin epidemic. And what about the next generation, their children? You know, what's going to happen to the children that are being raised by somebody else and not their parents?
The addict is now the common middle-class suburban kid, and there's no discrimination with the drugs, none whatsoever. And I had a hard time with this. I had a hard time with it for a long, long time until I learned more about who exactly is using, who's not using, where.
This needs to upset you. This should make you pretty upset, because you see all the people in this, they're white middle class America, so they're victims. She feels sad for them now that they know who's actually using these drugs. Now that they need to invoke sympathy. Now they want you to look at them and say, oh, how do we help them? They're not criminalizing these people. They're not calling them thugs and drug abusers and junkies and let's open up some more prisons in these neighborhoods. That's not what they're doing. We need to look at stuff like this. And this is white privilege right here. White privilege is when you can go and you can use drugs and you can be an addict and you invoke sympathy and people want to help you and send you to rehab and make sure you're better and find out what's wrong with you, why you're doing this. If you're Black, then you're just a junkie and you're a criminal and you're a lowlife and you're a thug.
Where it can be found, how it can be found, and the big question was why.
Notice that big question, why? Whenever you hear them screaming, oh, Chicago is so violent, blah, 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 do they ever address why? They never ask why, because they don't care. When it's something that has to do with a Black person or any other brown race person, then they're just junkies, they're thugs, they're violent, they're low class. But when this is the picture of it, they want you to feel sympathy. They want to figure out why. I have not heard Donald Trump say anything about this extreme epidemic of opiates and pain pills and heroin use among the middle class white suburbia. I haven't heard him open his mouth and speak about that at all. But this is an epidemic. These people are telling you this is a problem. This is big among our community. But you don't hear them mentioning that or putting it on the news or throwing it in your face, because they don't want you to look at white people like this. They need you to look at Black people. They need you to look at yourselves and say, these are the criminals. These are the people that I need to be afraid of. We're junkies and we're crackheads and we're thugs. But this is who they are. Okay, we need to stop buying into that dream and that fake fantasy, that white supremacy, that white people are good and they're not a problem and they're not druggies and they're not thugs, because they are. This is who they are.
As far as his addiction,
I'm just gonna skip
addiction, in the family and the things it causes is resentment. My son resents his sister.
It's just, for me, this is disgusting, and it just shows you how weak the white community really are. Because as Black people, we're born into a situation where we have to start fighting from the beginning. We're born into oppression. We're born into this white supremacist society that tells us we're already below them. These people are born into a country that does nothing but embrace them, that is set up for privilege, that they're born into over 400, well, actually this generation, they're born into almost 700 years of riding on the backs of Black people. So there is no excuse for them to be drug addicts. There's no excuse for them to be poor. There's no excuse for them to be uneducated. And yet That's what this is the face of heroin and pills. This is the face of depravity. But this isn't what they show you. They want you to see a picture of a black kid with baggy jeans so that they can tell you that's the thug and that's the problem. Chicago is not the problem. This is the problem right here. White supremacy is the problem. So we really have to start focusing on what these white people are doing. We need to start pushing out their problems, their depravity, because the news isn't going to do it. Donald Trump isn't going to address this problem. But this problem is costing Americans billions of dollars a year. Like, make no mistake about it. You are paying for these middle-class white people to sit at home and shoot heroin into their arms and to pop pills. We're paying for this, okay? So this needs to, white people that aren't doing this, if you're not a druggie and you're not a lowlife and you're not a heroin user and a pill popper and just riding through life floating on white supremacy, this should anger you. It should anger you that you are spending billions of dollars a year to pay for middle-class white suburbia to shoot heroin up their arms. Like, this is not okay. And all the while, we have people just saying, oh, but Chicago. If you haven't fixed Chicago in the last 100 years, you're not going to do anything about it. They don't care anything about it. This is what we need to focus on, because this is where our tax money is going. Our tax money is going for middle-class white suburbia to shoot heroin up their arms and pop pills, okay? We need to address that. This is what we need to focus on, and it's an epidemic, and as you can see, it's all through here. It's not just something that just happened once a long time ago. All these people that you see are white, okay? These are white people. That's the face of heroin, pills. It's disgusting, and this is what we need to focus on, their depravity, and stop letting them shove in our head that there's something wrong with us. Well, thanks for watching this. Please like, comment, subscribe. I do read your comments, so if you're going to get on here and make excuses for white people, you're wasting your time. I will not read your comment, and you will be deleted and blocked. Anyways, thank you so much. Have a good day.